All right, so today we're getting into a philosophical text that, let's be honest, does not want to be your friend. It's called The Ledger of the Great Evening, and it's this incredibly dense, poetic, and really confrontational argument against the very idea of ambition. So let's try to break down its pretty challenging ideas together, slide by slide. Okay, wow, let's just dive right in with the source's own words, because, yeah, from the very first line, this thing comes out swinging. There's no gentle persuasion here. It's an aggressive, almost scornful declaration aimed squarely at, our most deeply held beliefs about purpose and striving for something more. So right away, the text tells us what it is. This is not a guide to a better future. The title itself, A Ledger for the Great Evening, sounds like it's closing time. It's about closing the books on the entire human project and tallying up the final score, which it seems to think is ultimate foolishness. Now we get to the core of it, the autopsy of ambition. An autopsy, right? That's what you do when something is already dead. And look at that subtitle. It's a direct attack on the Nietzschean idea of the overman, the ultimate goal of human potential. This text calls it a glittering lie, arguing our ambition isn't some noble climb, it's a complete and total delusion.
This is where it gets really clever, I think. It takes this famous philosophical concept, the will to power, the drive to grow and overcome, and it completely rebrands it. It says, no, that's not what's happening. It's really a will to distraction. The idea is that we aren't running towards a goal, we're running away from something, from the terrifying silence, from the void. We just keep ourselves busy so we don't have to look into the dark.
And there's a name for this state of constant frantic running, delirium. The text argues that our whole culture of progress, growth, and ambition is basically just a collective fever dream. I mean, that line about the heart is just brutal. It says your heartbeat isn't a song of life, it's just the frantic pulse of this shared delusion. So you have to ask, if we're all caught in this delirium, who's keeping us here? Well, the text creates this amazing, dark mythology to explain it. It personifies the forces that keep us on that treadmill, and it calls them the Council of Inferno.
And this council is just fascinating. First, you have Mephistopheles. But his temptation isn't power or riches, no. He tempts you with the will to nap, the simple, overwhelming desire to just give up and rest. Then there's the obsidian owl, this cold, logical machine whose only job is to prove that all your effort adds up to zero. And finally, you have the Watchers, who are basically a warning. They're these figures who just got so tired they decided their exhaustion was the finish line.
This all leads to a complete inversion of the hero's journey. Instead of climbing a mountain to achieve greatness, the text says the real story of our time is the descent into fatigue. It's a journey not of ascent, but of an inevitable collapse into just profound weariness. And this is another direct parody of Nietzsche. He had his three metamorphoses of the spirit becoming great. This text has its own version. It starts with the stillborn child, where wonder and potential die before they can even act. Then you become the caged lion, where you fight for freedom only to find that freedom is just an even bigger, emptier prison. And it ends with the broken camel, but instead of carrying heavy truths, it just carries the sweet weight of its own exhaustion. So, to test this whole philosophy, the text gives us a little parable. It's about a perfect, tireless machine, this overman of brass, that was built to be the ultimate striver. But see, the machine is too perfect. Its intellect is infinite. It can see the final outcome of everything, the end of the universe, the futility of every single action. And after all that computation, it arrives at one perfectly logical question. If the final answer to everything is just zero, why keep doing the math?
And the machine's response to its own logic is, well, it's profound in just how simple it is. It doesn't look for a new purpose. It doesn't find some hidden meaning. It just stops. This is what the book calls the Great Refusal.
The source even gives this act a name, self-undergoing. And this might be the most challenging idea in the whole text. It reframes this act of stopping not as failure, but as the absolute highest form of wisdom. In this worldview, the hero isn't the one who keeps fighting. The hero is the one who understands that it's time to stop and just allows themselves to fall. So this all brings us to the final and maybe most shocking conclusion. It argues that real peace, true contentment, isn't found in the struggle or in the victory. It's found in what it calls, very provocatively, the happiness of the grave. To get this idea across, the text tells us to reject the sun. The sun is life, energy, striving, and according to this, it's a liar. Instead, we should embrace the moon. Why? Because the moon doesn't produce its own light. It doesn't burn with ambition. It just reflects. It's an argument for passivity over action, for quiet reflection over burning yourself out.
And that's the ultimate goal here. It's not about finding an answer to the great why of life. The goal is to get to a place where you don't even need to ask the question anymore. Peace, it argues, is when that frantic need for a purpose finally goes to sleep.
And that's where it leaves us. 2 words, a command. It's such a jarring end to this journey through the autopsy of ambition. There's no hope, no new path forward. It's just an invitation to stop. And I guess the ultimate question it leaves us with is, in a world that is obsessed with endless striving, what would it even mean to simply be finished?